Be
Well,
careful what you say, Julz. You're now
welcome
being
Jules
recorded.
Finley into the room and wish her a happy new year. And it's really good
Yes,
to see
Happy
you,
New Year,
Jules.
Julz.
Happy New Year to you three gentlemen as well.
Happy New Year, darling.
Thank you.
So, okay, I guess I'll start with some questions, or at least try to
Oh
keep it
dear.
as short as possible. Now, I think this is kind of what's been on the mind of a lot of fans that have been following what you've started up here. Is okay, like what's the plan really? I mean, is it going to include new music, or are you doing arrangements of your older stuff that you did while the three of you were on Simple Minds albums?
Right,
Yes.
nobody's going to answer that one.
No, I can answer that. We're going. It's going to be a mixture of both, Jules. We'll do tracks that we played on our own tracks, and we'll do a different twist to it. But we'll also write brand new songs as well. That's what we're planning on doing. We haven't really. I mean, I've started and stuff in here. I'm sure that Mick and Brian will have ideas in their head as well. But Brian and I are going to go into the studio and start playing drums and bass and try to come up with some lines, and then we'll work up along with Mick, and we'll do the same because Mick, it's the way we used to do it. Mick and Charlie would write music, and Brian and I would go in playing drums and bass, and we'd come up with a line, and whatever one took the fancy at that time, we would work in that.
Mhm.
And well, that's the way it's going now.
Yeah, the
Basically,
thing
we're the three people that did the music anyway.
Yeah,
along
I
with
know.
Charlie.
The
Yeah.
thing with the material that's up there already, Jules, it was really just, it kind of, from my point of view, it was
There's a big
really
mad
just
delay with Mick.
a demonstration. It's only with
Can
you,
you hear me,
Brian.
No, I can't, no, it's okay with me, Brian, as well.
Yeah, we're okay.
Is
It's
it
just you,
just me?
Brian. I keep saying that, and he's hearing it way denying. No, the thing with the material that we've done on the old material so far, I've just been looking at it with trying to view it as just a demonstration of what our contribution was in relation to each of those things, along with a couple of things that I did on my own YouTube, which was really just what I did on certain tunes and how I'd portray them now. We're kind of going along that same line with some of the ideas that we've done with Careful and Korea and In Your Room and a few others that we put up recently with and Transmission and things like that. It was just eliminating everybody else that was in the band except us and see what it sounds like. We've kicked everyone at the band, as it were.
Good. Well, I mean, I'm pretty ballsy and honest about how I feel about certain shit anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, I said
Yeah.
how I became a fan of the band. Like I said, I didn't really want to be a fan. I didn't like Jim. I still don't really like Jim that much. I don't hate the guy, but he's kind of a putz, So I gave you guys a shot later on in my life. It was like probably around maybe 2001 or 2 or whatever. I'm like, who the fuck didn't I pay attention to? Because I'm a person who collects a lot of shit. Okay. I got too much music. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
So I'm like, who did I not really, who did I skip over? Because I didn't really know people that were fans of you guys either. So it wasn't like I had a whole lot of exposure. My exposure was just what I saw on MTV in the 90s, not 90s, in the 80s when I was a little kid. And the next time I saw anything by Simple Minds, I was a teenager, and that was that album that Jim and Charlie did, the one She's a River on it. And like I gotta say, at the time I was probably about 15 or 16. My impression of that was, ew, why are these guys going grunge? This sucks, and I still think it sucks. And I mean, I can't even take that album seriously. I've tried. I'm like, ugh. So anyhow, I went back and I'm like, all right, let me like take my, let me just give this band a chance, So what I found, because I'm such a cheapskate too, is found Sons of Fascination, found it in a dollar bin on CD.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
knew it was going to be in the bargain bin.
Where have they now been? Yeah.
well, I mean, I was like, it was pretty beat to shit too. I'll say that. So whoever had it before clearly did listen to it a lot.
So was it a vinyl? Was it a vinyl record, Jules?
No, it was on CD.
Oh,
And it was
CD.
probably a reissue of a reissue or something. Something that ended up, I don't even know if it was made in the United States or not. So I mean, I'm listening to this. I'm like, holy fuck. How is this the same band I didn't like before? I mean, that's pretty much it. And I'm looking through the liner notes that were, they're still legible. I'm like, well, because there's a different band here. I'm only aware of, who's, and thing is that at the time, I think it was, I don't know. Sometime I'm saying early 2000s. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man, I really missed out on this. And, so when I could find your stuff, which honestly in the United States isn't that easy.
No.
The older stuff's not easy to find. I mean, I have it now because, I made the effort, but, yeah, older stuff isn't, readily available. Like Once Upon a Time is, and, maybe like a best of type of thing. You'll find those things pretty easily, but
Yeah.
anything else is just like, it took me time to get, a hold of stuff. And yeah, I could take the easy way out and just order shit on the internet like everybody else does.
I suppose the
But
easy
then-
way is actually Spotify or
Well,
one
and
of
the
the
thing is,
streaming platforms.
I know that's the easy way, but I can't do it that way. That's not how I get into the shit I get into.
Yeah.
When I get into it, I got to have the tangible item. I
Yeah,
guess I'm
me
old
too.
school in that way. And, and being that my background is more graphic design, I look at, the artwork heavily when it comes to like packaging or whatever. So
All right.
that's why, it's like, I got to have it that way. And so I think the next album I picked up from you guys was, I think it was Reel to Reel. And I was just like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I got to get all this early stuff at some point. So when I finally did get it, then I started filling in the blanks of like later stuff. And I'm just like, I never listened to the later stuff. I really don't. It's not that Charlie and Jim are terrible or anything like that. That's not what I think. It's just, the sound is not there for me. I know what I like when I've heard it. And, I'm a person that can listen to a lot of instrumental stuff too. So I tend to, focus in on these things. So I felt like, man, like I felt like a turd that I didn't like listen to you guys sooner. So I was like, I was pleasantly surprised by what, the capabilities were. And I really like hearing, stuff that's done with when technology isn't as advanced. I appreciate it more that way. When I'm like, all right, you guys did this, and people can shit out a record out of their making it on their iPhone in this day and age. Not that it's any good, but it happens.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like when I hear what can be done in a and when you didn't have a big budget to work with or whatever the case may be, I feel like
Yeah.
there's more creativity when you have
Yeah.
to work within limited resources. And I kind of always felt that way. And when it comes to film too, I always like films that have lesser components to them with more of a story.
Yeah.
And
me too.
but enough about that. Enough about how I became a fan. But the thing is, I'm glad I became a fan. And I have another question I do want to ask him. I don't want to take up too much time because I know you guys.
Can I just quickly ask you, what, as a graphic designer, about kind of how the album covers? I mean, the album covers had nothing to do with any of us. I can't remember us having any input at all in any of our covers. Did anything in there strike you as being kind of eye-catching?
Yes, some of them do, and some of them not so much. I would say that I do like the Sons of Fascination and Sister Feeling Calls design. I do like it's got a very, kind of avant-garde structure to it, and I like the typography on it. I don't like Once Upon a Time. I don't like I like Anton Corbin's photography.
See, that's quite funny, that, because Once Upon a Time, a lot of people don't like that. I particularly don't like it either. But one of the times when I did notice what the idea behind it was in a shop window. I think it was Virgin in Oxford Street. And what they did was they pieced the whole window with all the record covers joined up together. Turn the frac one round and put all the mouths and the eyes. And then suddenly it was a whole wall of all these eyes and mouths and faces. Now, I thought that was quite a clever idea.
Yeah, when it becomes like a larger, if it's a fraction of it, it loses the impact. But like the larger scale of it, I do know what you mean. I've seen it in that.
Yeah. But I think as a marketing Tool, that worked more than most of them, because when you saw them in a store and there was loads of them, I thought, well, and I had to walk in and see that before I was aware of that. So anyway, sorry, I distracted you off your track there. Carry on, Julz.
I was going to also say I do like New Gold Dream as well. And actually, the copy I have is got the marbled vinyl. The vinyl part itself has got like the kind of caramel colored, marbled vinyl.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I like that. Even though, okay, my style tends to be a little more, minimalist. I like that in the sense that it used minimalism with it being very ornate at the same time. So I really think that the way they juxtaposed the design and that was really well done.
Right.
And I do like the because it doesn't look okay. I can't say that it looks like some like Christian album or something like that, but there are definitely some religious elements.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a lot of Knights Templar symbols on it.
Yes.
When I read,
There was one of the countries, one of the, like the Czech Republic or something like that. There was one of them took the cross off the album cover. So there's albums out there that haven't got the cross on it because it offended them.
Oh wow, yeah, because I guess at that time it would have, considering like the state of the world at the time. I didn't even think about it.
I remember pinpointing the bit in the book where Malcolm Garrett about when he was pitching the idea to Jim and how they extracted it. I took a photograph of the page actually because I did sort of cringe at it slightly. It was almost like, let's tell Jim his lyrics are biblical. He's going to like that. It's like, yeah. And then after you think about it like that, and then you start reading what the lyrics are and how they've printed them up with the cross, and I really started to cringe and thought, had I had more balls at the time, I would have really objected to the whole thing being going down that road, to be honest with you. But it does looks really good.
Yeah, I could see if it was like in individual parts, you might be like, where the hell are you going with this? But like it as a finished product, it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I was gonna say here's a question. I don't know if you guys could really answer this one or not, but I'll give it a go. When you think about your level of musicianship, who do you no, I know you're laughing, but who do you actually think when you compare, like, to, I guess, your contemporaries, I guess that'd be the right word for it, your peers, who do you think are your actual, like, almost equivalents in the music world?
Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, who wants to take that one?
For me, in the bass, that people I would listen to, because I was a lead guitar player anyway, so I just got forced into playing bass, and I'm still trying to get out of it. But I'd say Peter Hook was a big influence, and John Jack Burnell for the sound and the playing as well. Really, I liked it, really driving, kind of heavier kind of sound. So I think they'd be the guys I looked at.
I was going to say, I'm glad you said Peter Hook, because I kind of have my own thoughts on who I kind of feel like you guys have equivalencies to, as from a listener's perspective. And Peter Hook was one of them. A few other I have here. I do see some similarities with Barry Adamson, John Taylor, Maurice Gibb a little bit, and Nick Beggs. I kind of feel like your style is it's not like you sound like any of them. You definitely sound different, but I feel like you guys are all in the same sort of class of having like the there's like it's just you play it more like a guitar, really. I think everybody I just mentioned there does play it more like a guitar, so you hear it more. Yet none of you sound like John Entwistle.
I know, right?
I was going to say, I don't think anybody could top him, but like, I'm just saying.
No, he's brilliant. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
And my influences are all lead guitar players anyway, like Jimmy Page, Clapton, Hendrix, and all that. So that's where my side comes from.
What about you, Brian?
Yeah.
I was going to just turn it back around on Julz and just say, who did she think I sounded like first?
I was going to use that one.
The woman offer Nationwide.
Okay, Brian, I'll say your styles remind me a bit of Mark Cerrone.
Who's that?
Supernature. Remember that song, Supernature?
Oh, I know the song, yeah. The disco track.
Yes. And
Cool.
he was an incredible drummer, actually.
Right, I'll look him up.
A bit like Stephen Morris from Joy Division, New Order. Alan Myers from Devo, and
Wow.
a bit like Steve Jansen from Japan too.
I would hit Steve Jansen on the head, bang on.
Yeah,
Steve Jansen's more technical, Julz, but I loved his style. I loved the Quiet Life, and I loved a lot of the grooves that he did. He was very, very gentleman, take Polaroids, stuff like that. Very clever drummer.
Yeah,
he worked too flash.
Hear it.
he worked with me, Julz. He worked in propaganda, and then when Steve left the band, I got Brian into the band because Brian liked to smoke personality cigarettes, and he come up to see me because he'd run out of stuff. And I says, "What are you doing just now?" He says, "Well, I've just left the End Games." I says, "Do you fancy playing me propaganda?" Aye, okay. He just said okay. And I phoned the guy, Michael Mertens, propaganda, phoned him in Germany, says, "Brian McGee will do the drums if you're up for it." And that was it. Brian was in for 7 years.
I don't know if you noticed, Dan, but your question was asked already. It's my turn.
I was just going to say, Brian, I'll never get matched to it.
I won't get a word in, Julz. You can tell the Derek, you know. His name's Derek. We call him Derek when we were annoyed with him. His real name's Dan.
Okay,
I've got my favourite drummer. All my favourite drummers are all singers. Like starting with Karen Carpenter. And then Lee Van Helm, you know the band, Lee Van Helm?
My dad.
Lee Van Helm, aye.
I've got a theory that singing drummers have got an angle on the way a whole song's delivered.
Do you count me as a singing drummer, Mick?
Nearly, till you started singing Garden of Hate. Destroyed it.
Julz, you won't know Garden of Hate, do you, Julz?
I'm familiar with him, but I don't own anything by him, so I can't say.
It's not him. It's a Simple Minds song.
It's a Simple Minds B-side.
Oh, okay. I thought you asked me if I knew who the band Theater of Hate were.
No, Garden of Hate.
Yeah,
Garden of Hate. No, there's a few bands that sound like that, but but
there's a running joke with the band that we did a B-side called Garden of Hate, and I did the backing vocals on it. And it was so bad that they keep on reminding me of it.
Well, okay, since you're talking about that, like I remember hearing there's this one band I came across on YouTube once, which I'm glad they took their video down because they should be embarrassed by it. It was this band called Garden of Tears, and it had to have been the most pathetic goth shit I've ever seen in my freaking life, where I found myself almost pissing myself laughing because the guy, I don't know, he was crying in the video, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? But every time I think of Garden of something, I think of that Garden of Tears guy. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that tangent there, but it just made me think of that. So no matter what you sang was nowhere nearly as bad as what I'm thinking of, so don't worry about it. So Mick, your turn.
Right, okay, on you go, Julz. Who am I then?
Okay, let's see here. What did I write down? Shit, I can't read my own handwriting. Alan Wilder, which I've mentioned before. I definitely saw the parallel between Mick and Alan, and you guys left the bands in like this kind of the same way. You were in the bands equally as long, even though Alan wasn't in Depeche Mode originally. Depeche Mode wouldn't have been shit without him. I'm just gonna say it because like they didn't even know what the hell they were doing at first, and then he was hired to take over Vince Clarke. And
did he ever go back again? Did he ever return to anything of it?
Oh, he did Recoil, which was his own work, but he's never going to go back to Depeche Mode. It was like when he was done, he was fucking done, and he made it clear.
After you spoke to me about him, I really wanted to try and get in touch with him. I don't know how to do that, but
I don't either. All I know is we moved to Norway recently. That's all I heard.
I'm sure Alan Wilder is on my Facebook page.
Aye,
I'm sure he is. Been chatting about it, Depeche Mode.
See, when you make a reference to somebody, when you first question the phrasing of the question about your musicianship, your standard, you know, I don't think I'm anywhere near most people at all as far as standard. Even though I had quite an education in music and I went to classes and I did a few levels of it. I still don't see myself as a kind of musician type person. I think, like, even recently, like New Year here, for example, I pull the accordion out and I can play it quite well, and I can blend in. But the worst case things I hate seeing is when I stop playing a tune and everybody starts clapping. I'm like, please don't clap. Just don't do anything at all. I'd rather just fade away. And I got quite good over the last decade. I've trained myself to play so that I'm not even noticed at all. And it's almost like just a total noise of background that they don't know that I've actually stopped until I start again. You know, that kind of feeling. And then the two other guys that are in the local band up here, the Patterson boys, they show up and it's all sounding really good. I've got a girl who's playing a wee flute and we're playing a really beautiful version of the Speed Bonnie Boat, you know, the Sky Boat song. It's really lovely. And these two guys come hammering in with like, it's like the Orange Walk coming on down the street, you know, totally destroyed it. And of course, everybody starts singing along with that. And it's all shite, you know, it's all like total just a party. They're all having fun and I'm just in a grumpy mood and I'm trapped in the corner next to the window, so I can't pack up my accordion and say I'm going home, you know, because I'm going to look like a right grumpy bastard. And I'm really well, exactly what I was thinking, Dan. If I could open this window up, it would look like I was stealing an accordion, climb out the window just to get out of there.
You should video that, Mick.
I know, it was a horrible feeling, and I didn't want to really feel like a big party pooper, you know. I mean, it was fucking 4 o'clock in the morning already, so it's not that I was away early.
4 in the morning.
Anyway, aye, that was a Hogmanay night.
Did you catch that accent there, Julz? Yeah.
Sorta.
Right. You came to Glasgow. You must have learned something.
We're going to get subtitles on this video.
I mean, no, I can make out what you guys are saying.
Cool.
It takes me a little minute because there's difference in pronunciation and slang.
Yeah,
I noticed that when I visited Glasgow.
I really wanted to come and meet you there that time. I can't remember what happened, but I really wanted to come and see you when you were in Glasgow.
Thanks.
Glasgow.
Is it okay? How is it actually pronounced? Is it Glasgow or is it Glasgow?
Glasgow.
Glasgow. Okay, and that's
Glasgow.
how I've always pronounced it. And I got assholes here in the United States telling me I'm saying it wrong. I'm like, I think they'd fucking know how they're saying it over there. You know,
Edinburgh is the worst, Julz. Edinburgh. You say Edinburgh, and it's Edinburgh. Edinburgh, like a borough, Burra, borough. Edinburgh.
For a mother.
For a mother. Aye.
I was gonna say, I wasn't done answering Mick about who else I thought he reminded me of, or
all right, okay, sorry,
of, like on the same level. But you might not know who this guy is. His name is Maurice Caesar. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't know how that.
Make a salad.
No. Like he was Gavin Friday's musical partner.
Who's
Gavin Friday's musical partner?
I'm not sure of that is either.
Okay, well, I'll just say Maurice Caesar, he's an accordionist, and piano, and he plays keyboards, and he does kind of all the above. And he was he's probably what made me really like the accordion. I always liked it, but then when I finally heard the way he played it, it's when I heard it in a different kind of context. Because, like, you know, in the United States, this is what we hear. We either hear Weird Al Yankovic or polka, and you know. I don't dislike either, but you know, sometimes you have to hear an instrument played in a way that's unconventional before you can really appreciate it. Absolutely. I felt the same way when I first heard a guy called Zachary Richard, who's kind of Cajun music, and it was really incredible. It was like, I couldn't believe that the accordion did that. Yeah, and that's like, I mean, when I heard how Maurice Caesar plays and it has like a mood to it, I'm like, damn, this is one fucking hell of an instrument. All right, 2 more. I was going to say is Hugh McKenna from Sensational Alex Harvey Band, and John Bundrick, who was like kind of the touring keyboardist with the Who for many years. Yeah, I definitely hear a lot of. I hear like the melodies are as well developed. I mean, I know that like in the studio, Pete Townsend played most of it, but when they played live, it was John Bundrick playing. Who? Yeah, he played with Free as well. Was it Free or Bad Company he played with? I'm not really sure who else he
Thunder,
worked with.
I'm sure he was.
other
I'm
than
sure
Who.
he played with Paul Rogers.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you might be right about that. But no, I mean, I'm more familiar with him is because I'm just a lifelong Who fan. So
Yeah.
that's how I would know him. But yeah, I think I've taken up enough of your guys' time, and I know that other people are waiting. So I'll
Okay.
leave, I was gonna say I'll leave you with a joke.
All right.
It's a
Oh,
raunchy one. You guys want to hear a raunchy one?
yeah, Ron.
Yeah.
Ron Sean.
Ron. Give us
Okay,
Ron.
let's see. What did the sign on the door of the brothel say?
Come in.
Signing the door of the brothel.
Come in, Derek. No.
Get out, Derek.
It said, "Beat it.
Yup,
We're
yeah.
closed."
You think we're closed. Not bad, not bad.
Okay, that's quite good. Yeah.
I
Nice
could,
one,
I
Jill.
could, I could, fi- I could, if I could remember some of the ones my father has taught me. No, never mind.
I know you always think about jokes. You think I need to remember that one. I can only remember one joke, and I love it every single time. It was an old Bob Monkhouse joke, and it goes like this: My father died in his sleep peacefully, unlike the 32 passengers in the bus he was driving.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice and pitch black. I like
Isn't
that.
that good?
That's the best joke I've ever heard you saying, mate.
I
Oh,
love
man.
that joke. It's just perfect. There's quite a few of my father died jokes that are actually quite good.
God.
Anyway, as you say, Julz, it's been amazing to speak to you again and
Yeah,
see you. And
brilliant,
we're
Yeah.
going to have to let some of these prize
Yeah.
winners in, because you obviously didn't win this prize. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I did know. But you know what? I wasn't trying to compete. That's the whole thing. And
No, I know.
I'm not a very competitive person by nature. I shy away from that sort of behavior, I guess. But at the same time, I'm a good sportsman, I guess. So I'm happy for the winner of this, and I'm sorry if I'm taking up too much of his time while babbling on here. But fellas, it was awesome to speak with all of you, and I absolutely look forward to what you're going to be coming out with. But I will say this: as an American, if you guys don't tour here, I completely understand. Like, some people get pissy about shit like that. And it's like, yeah, maybe when I was younger, I'd get pissy about like, oh, so-and-so didn't fucking tour here or whatever. As I've gotten older, I'm like, Jesus Christ, who the fuck would want to tour here? I mean, it's so fucking enormous, widespread, too much bullshit to go through, let alone like just, it's not, I can't even say it's safe in this country. I mean, every time I hear about a band that's like hasn't toured here in a while and they come over here, their shit gets stolen. I swear to God, it's like happens over and over. I'm like, who the fuck would want to play here? So I won't hold it against you if you guys don't tour here, but I can see you guys playing live, obviously in your home country, and that would totally make sense. So, all right, guys, do I click here, leave the studio? Is that how I get out of here?
I'll eject you, but it's really great to talk to you, Julz. It's been a real joy.
Yeah, it's
Thank you very much.
fantastic.
Nice to meet you, Jules.
Nice to
Nice
meet
to
you
meet you.
guys.
We'll
Take
see
care.
you later.
See
All
ya.
the best.
Cheers.
Right, bye-bye. Right, so, okay, and who was going to be next? Was it going to be Tony?
Eh?
No,
It was Tony, wasn't it? And then Roberto.
Tony was going to be first, and then Roberto was last. Tony, and then Julz.
And then hopefully Nanette at the end, but I'm sure
Nanette
we'll,
came on now as well.
did I have serious technical issues there earlier?
You did. You were like looking, but nobody home. Lights on.
you just
Lights on.
vanished.
Aye.
Right, okay, I'm going to bring Tony Patterson in here.
Tone boy.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
How's everybody? Happy New Year.
Tony, how are you doing?
All right, Derek, how are you? Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Happy New Year. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for the opportunity. I'll tell you, I'm for running the competition. I have to give a big shout out to my brother Pat, my sister Emma, my daughter Jenny, who just got me over the line. Got me up to 243 likes. Beating Roberto was not easy. He had a big lead out in front. So anyway, it's probably the only time Ireland will ever beat Mexico at anything. We had a couple of virtual drinks last night. Actually, it was good fun. So yeah, great to be here. I have to say, delighted with the launch of the Three Minds. Absolutely fantastic. Mick, I met you once. I think I said it to you in a message there recently. Live in the City of Light. I think there was an album signing down in Dublin in the Virgin Megastore, 6th of June,
Oh,
1987.
right, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good to see you again. We haven't chatted in years.
Good to see
I
you
haven't
too.
seen that.
That's a great album. That's the best album, actually, I think.
It's great, yeah, I love it. And I haven't seen Derek in about 7 weeks. I was over in St. Luke's with Adam. That was an absolute fantastic night, Derek. Fantastic start to finish.
Brilliant.
First time meeting Brian. Good to meet you, Brian.
And you, mate. Good Irishman.
So, come here. So, look, I have to say the VT for the launch is powerful. Very, very powerful. Careful in Career is off the charts for me. Off the charts. The Minds in the Shed also off the charts. So, really looking forward to what's coming next. So, can I just ask you a bit about that? I actually, what I did was I had a look at the VT and had some specific questions, if that's okay. And then I get into some. So I was kind of listening to some of the comments you were all making. So Brian, first, you kind of said in the VT, no one was listening to what you were saying, and you felt disposable, and it was like erasing you from the memory of the band, and it was just a Jim and Charlie show. So was it just you were exhausted from? You left in 1981. Is that right? After you were around, I think, for all the albums up to Sister Feelings Call, Sons of Fascination.
Yeah.
You left in 81. I heard a podcast recently, and it said you ended up 6 stone. You were doing all the driving and all that stuff. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, Tony. I was at the very, very beginning of the band's career. I didn't realise I was getting very ill, just with the constant gigging and constant working and just touring all the time and whatever. And by the time I realised I was really ill, I went to the band and asked for some time out, and it was kind of fell on deaf ears as such. And then I realised that my life was in danger, to be honest, just because of the nature of my medical condition and my physical condition more so. And I just felt disposable. And Mick and I and Derek, I call Derek sometimes, but it's usually Dan.
A million bastard, by the way.
But I felt really, really kind of, I was struggling physically to keep going. And I eventually, after I left the band, I took a nervous breakdown. And it took me a year to come back out of that. But it was just, I didn't really want to leave the band. It was just, I felt as if, it was one of those ones, all boys together. No one really cared. There wasn't HR at that point in time, any human resources to help me out. And I just walked away. And then that's when I collapsed. I physically collapsed, then my brain caved in after that. So it was a bit of a dark time for me. And as I say, it took me maybe 9 months to a year to actually get back to some kind of normality.
So you must have felt let down,
I was too busy worrying about my health at the time, Tony. I didn't really think.
Yeah, sure.
Only on reflection now, as the years have passed, when you look back, and I think, shit, I wish I'd fucking had the chance to continue. I would never have continued for 40 years or 50 years, but I certainly would have contributed more than I did, and I felt as if I kind of cut my career short. But that's life. I don't regret leaving, because if I hadn't left, I would have certainly been dead.
Yeah.
Drug abuse and alcoholic abuse, driving, lifting equipment, playing live every night, doing tours, European tours, American tours, just British tours, constant. And it got too much. And I don't think the band realised how bad I was.
Yeah. In a good space now, though, so that's good. Yeah, sorry, Mick. Yeah.
No, I'm just reflecting on that time as well, because when Brian left, it was a bit of a shock, really. We saw there was a kind of, he was on a different time frame initially, because we were smoking heavily weed. It's not even starting the studio till early evening, possibly after dinner. Brian was up early in the morning, running another parallel life, basically, by the time those final days of the recording studio was kicking in. But my main memories of both departures of these two guys were after they left and the first encounters that we'd had. And I think it may have been your wedding, Brian, because we came to your wedding after And we also went to Derek's wedding after he'd left the band as well. We're still really good friends. It wasn't like a case of fuck them or fuck that. It was there was a kind of respect for the decision that had been made. But there was still this kind of odd feeling of we're no in this band together anymore. And I'm often left with the same thought about after I left. I wonder if there was any feelings that they had harboured that I've experienced with these two guys, because it's a real odd thing. I can't even really describe it.
Well, Charlie was really, when I left Mick, Charlie was really wild. The things he was doing, he would come to my house and he'd say, "Can I pay for your floor?" My brother just put a new wooden floor in the bottom half of my house. Can I pay? I says, "No."
That sounds like guilt. That just sounds like some sort of guilt.
And that's what it was. But it was guilt. But it's also what we secretly know now. We know why. Can he do that? Can he do this? He was doing that to me all the time. But Charlie used to come out with me every weekend when we were off, when I was on my own. And then I met Wendy. I met my wife with him. We used to go out on a Friday night or a Saturday night and to the pubs and whatever, and I met my wife there. Well, she was my wife. I
remember meeting one. I don't know if it was you and Wendy, or whether it was Brian or Shelley in a Morgan car up Glen Coast somewhere. Who was that?
That was
you?
That's me. Brian and I used to drive a bit in the wee. What was it? A Panther Lima. And it was gold and bronze, and we used to drive about Bath when we were doing the propaganda album, and Brian and I'd be in it, and we'd stop at traffic lights, and then there were people taking photographs. You know what I mean? Japanese people, Asian people, loving it, absolutely loving it. We couldn't go anywhere without being, recognised or whatever for the camera.
Yeah, I was going to say, Derek, as well. Like you in the VT, you described that it was a plane crash for you, and I know. I was at the book signing in Dublin, the book signing in Glasgow as well. I've read the book twice. Excellent, love the book. Hard to read, hard to read in parts, particularly obviously the second, and also the offer of 400 quid, the Volvo worth 400 quid at that time, and I don't know.
Mick knows that one. He was pissing himself for that. It's ridiculous. Mick was pissing himself laughing at that 400 quid for a fucking Volvo.
And some low offer from Bruce for royalties. Like that's insulting, really.
Ridiculous. That was bad.
Yeah. So you've said like you never get over it, but this is good. This is therapy for you. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Derek?
That's right. Aye, because we're here now. We're the guys that did it, and we're
absolutely
pals. Yeah. Apart from Brian, we don't like Brian. He's just here just for merit.
No, very good. Mick, again, just on the VT, I thought the VT was great, to be honest with you. So, you're talking about the shock of what, so this is back to when you were the shock of what you're going to leave the band, and you're saying, why are you sounding so surprised? So, was it just you were tired of touring? That's kind of what I've kind of picked up and gleaned, like, or was there more to it than that? I was actually,
there was more to it. I mean, Jim's comment on something I'd seen recently about. It was a sort of throwaway comment, like with the wisdom of hindsight, by saying you don't leave a band at the end of your tour, like throw that down there. And there was no way I would have that decision was made at the end of the tour. That decision was made way a long time before the end of that tour. It was the professionalism of me sticking it out to do the tour in the first place that took me to the end of the tour. The leaving of the band thing had already, that decision had been made a long time before. Sure. But the way Derek brushed over his kind of story on the departure, which I think Derek's story is so much more than mine, because of what happened after he left. After I left, whether they got any bigger or not, I wasn't really that bothered. Had they became like a Dark Side of the Moon and brought out something that was like, shit, I should have fucking stayed in that band. What the hell was I thinking? The only thing that came to my mind after I'd left the band, there was a couple of things came up, and I did some stuff. I ended up with Chrissy Hind and the Pretenders for a period of time. And I remember thinking, I'm in the exact same boat here as I was with Jim. And as much as there was a certain amount of fear of the singer, and you got to walk on, it's like walking on glass half the time, and you're trying to dance around the mood of this kind of artist's person, you know. And I'm thinking, why am I doing this again? I just left a pretty good band. What the fuck am I doing in this band? They're not that much better. They were great guys, actually. The two guys in the band, because Martin Chambers had left at that point, and it felt like a really good thing. But I'm still asking myself the question: why did I leave the band in the first place if I'm doing this again? But no, there was a few things that I was just not happy with. Up the last few dates of the tour, it was a real struggle just to get through the gig. I was just kind of tired of the whole thing. I was tired of Jim. I was tired of Charlie. I was tired of the same tunes. I was tired of how they milk the songs out. I hated the end of the gig with a few tours before, when they're doing like dance to the music, and it was fucking cabaret was
dance to the music.
Like Robin, God bless her. I totally love Robin Clark. She's absolutely beautiful, but I was dreading her to turn around and Mick on the keyboards, and I'm going to play this fucking solo. I'm like really cringing in myself, knowing I don't want to play this. I'd rather just kick the thing off the stage and not do any more of the gig after that. And I did this really awful solo. It was total shit.
total wanky.
It was total wanky. And it was supposed to be like a clavy thing, and it was just a fucking racket.
Which tour was that, Mick?
Well, I got they all morphed into the same thing, Brian. You know what I mean? It was like I was
try and find that on YouTube.
Once Upon a Time tour, but there was a couple of things. It was for that point onwards. I think I've had enough of this, and the whole thing. That was the live element of it. The whole thing about that kept me in was the fact that by the time we got to do Street Fighting Years, I was kind of in the mode for what I wanted to do musically with all of that. And I remember thinking at the end of it, I've used every single idea that I've got on this. Normally at the end of records, there's a whole bunch of stuff that, man, maybe next album. But absolutely everything I had was on the record. And I felt like that's good enough for me. I'll just call it a day at that.
Yeah, I think that. So I was at my first gig, my first of my story goes back. The backstory for me that I put into that got me into that won the competition. It really starts with my brother Michael. You know, poor Michael. He's my late brother Michael. He passed 4 years ago.
Yeah.
He after a brave fight with cancer. But Michael was with Simple Minds from the start. So he was, you know, he bought all the records, Life of the Day, Reel to Reel, Empire's Dance, Sons of Fascination, Sister Feelings Call. New Gold Dream, Sparkle in the Rain. The first album I bought was Once Upon a Time to complete the collection at that time, you know. So Michael would have been, he was at the SFX. One of his stories was he tried to grab Jim's shoe. He was delighted himself. Jim told him off. And he was at the Phoenix Park, actually, I think that was, sorry, am I right in saying that was the first ever live performance of Waterfront?
Yeah. We just put it together days before.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe only a day before.
And he was. Go on, sorry, rough. Go ahead.
I'm just saying it was quite rough. It was just managed to get the pulse going and then playing over the top. But we just basically we worked on it the day before. I'm sure it was the day before Phoenix Park. So that was its first airing, and then we worked on it after that. Got better.
Yeah, I mean, the whole bass thing, it felt like a good intro. It felt like something you could run as an intro tape, because it was a kind of jam level that they had. I don't know what Jim had lyrically about that, but it was just a vibe with that kind of 6/8 timing. And the one note run, you could run that with anything. You know, and a couple of big da-dan. You could pretty much arrange it on the fly. I think that's what kind of roped it into being an opening thing generally.
It was just huge. It's huge, big noise, and it's just huge, vibey, big noise.
Brilliant! I absolutely love it. Waterfront is still a firm favourite of mine, and Tears for Fears used that, didn't they, as well? The Tears for Fears used that as an
Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That's it.
Yeah, that one.
Brian and I, we were working with Mr. What do we call him again? Ian Stanley. We had a name from Mr. Super Chat. He hardly said a fucking word, and so he was. So he said to me, "Oh, Derek, I forgot to thank you." And I went, "What for?" He says, "Because Who Wants to Rule the World," or whatever it's called, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. said that's your bass riff from Waterfront. We took a sample of it and we lengthened it, and they've got it. When you hear it, it's the same thing. It is that, and he said, and they had Mel snare and a cymbal or something like that for Mel. But that's it. And
very good.
I could have charged them for it, but no.
You should have.
The band we could have.
You can always build them now, I suppose, you know. But So my first Simple Minds gig was '89, so street fighting years, you know. So absolutely loved it. It was the day of the what we call here the leaving cert results, which is the equivalent, I suppose, of the A levels in the UK, you know. So a few beers that day, great gig. Belfast Child is a favourite of mine because I'm from Belfast originally. We left in '75 due to the Troubles, you know. So when Michael passed, Michael was a big, as I say, he was a big fan. His favourite song was Someone Somewhere in Summertime.
What age was Michael when he passed?
52. He was 52, Mick. Yeah, right. 52. Died in 2020. Just got a bad cancer in the spine, you know, and he was diagnosed actually 3rd of January 2020, and he died on the 3rd of May. So it was quite aggressive. He went very quickly. About a year previously, he'd got a lump in his neck, but he cleared that. But do you ever clear cancer, you know? So we lost him. And look, the selection of the music for his funeral was a no-brainer. You know, we picked Someone Somewhere in Summertime, his favourite song, Big Sleep, and Belfast Child. So Belfast Child rang through the church loud as we picked him up and carried him from the church. You know, so. That was a tough time, but made it easier with the Simple Minds music, you know. So absolutely. I mentioned as well, and Derek would know this because he's met Adam, my son. Adam, all of this kind of influenced Adam to start a band. Adam he's in BIM, the British and Irish Modern Music Institute. So he met other musicians there last year. They formed a band called Affection to Rent. Released their first single. It's good. Yeah, they released their first single there back in September. If we fought, you might give it a listen. I did share it with Derek, and thanks for the feedback on it, Derek. You know, the lead singer, she's brilliant. She's brilliant.
She is really good.
Yeah.
To be fair, Tony. To be fair, I thought I'll get in touch with Tony and see if Brian, Mick, and myself could maybe get her to sing a song with us, but. You know, we don't know that yet. We don't know what we've got ready, but that might have been an option because her voice is so good and different, I think.
I'm sure she'd be absolutely up for that. Absolutely. So just keep in touch with us on that, you know. She's actually been, she's done a scholarship. So Fontaine's DC, do you know Fontaine's DC?
Yeah, I do.
They're paying for her anyway. She won a competition for scholarships. So look, it's hopefully it'll go well for them. I'm digressing slightly. So where was I? I was back. So street fighting years. The gig there was great. Back to the VT if I can for a second. And it is kind of linked to I talked to Derek previously about this, but Mick, you mentioned that the whole thing, the world of the credit on the record, we're all guilty of not standing up and saying anything.
Yeah.
What? Can you just talk to me a little bit about that?
It was just there was no discussion on anything until we read the credit notes on those early records. Whereas I think a normal advice I would give to a young artist or band would be clear all that up before you kind of move on. Yeah. And that's something we never ever did. So that would be my main bit of advice. Make sure you're all in the picture as to who's getting what, who had the roast beef.
Yeah, exactly.
And I totally get a lot of bands having to say, like, you hear all these stories. It's rife through the history of rock and roll music with the singers, but everybody's on evens until money starts coming in. And then because it's so simple to give 50% or nothing, or let's split it into quarters, no money there at all. But once a few thousand quid starts rolling in and it goes into the hundreds of thousands, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, I'm writing all this stuff. We're not all actually in this together. It's not actually evenly dispersed as far as the contributions go. So it's a difficult one. That I loved the Queen movie when they regrouped again, the Bohemian Rhapsody. Whether it was true or not, I don't know, but I thought that was a really nice kind of story, the way they kind of say, no, it doesn't matter who does it. There's enough money there for everybody. How much do you actually need would be the kind of, when the money's that big, it doesn't really matter. Instead, it's the opposite way around. It's easy enough when there's nothing there, but I suppose there's a lot of could be greed involved with that element.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, Tony.
Yeah.
When I started in the band, and I go back to the very beginning, right from Johnny and the Self-Abusers all the way through, I never thought about money ever. I was doing it because I loved it. And when I was involved in signing record deals and publishing deals, I never thought for a minute that I wasn't an equal.
We need to watch the time here because Roberto's sitting patiently in the green room there.
Right, Tony, get to fuck.
Is there anything else you've got, Tony? Anything else you've got on your list there that you wanted to ask us?
Just a couple of quick things. So look, what's the plan? Look, I personally would love to see on tour. Now I know maybe that's not a runner, but here's a suggestion. Book the Barrowlands. We'll travel. I travel. See what I did there. And here's another little bad cheeky suggestion. Get Affection to Rent to support you. Why not? Give them a bit of a lift up. But yeah, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to what's coming next. And thanks for the opportunity to get in and have a chat with you guys. Love it. And the best of luck.
No problem.
Really good chatting to you, Tony. Nice one.
Cheers. You too. Thanks so much.
Cheers, Tony.
Take care.
Say hello to Adam.
Take care. All the best. Well done.
Cheers. Right, bye.
Bye.
That was really nice, wasn't it? Tony Patterson from is it Dublin or I know he said Belfast, but was it Dublin?
It's Dublin.
Right. So next up is Roberto Aguilera.
Roberto,
brother.
What fucking Mexican
Mucho
accent?
gusto.
Okay. Hello, Roberto.
How are you? Such a pleasure.
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, my friends. Happy New Year, and hope the best for you. And stay healthy, stay positive, stay energetic. And here we are.
You've been very patient sitting there listening to us ranting away here. It's good to see you, Roberto. Are you keeping well?
Yeah, everything's fine. I'm a little nervous now.
Are you?
Right.
Yeah.
Don't be nervous. Nah, it's good to see you. Obviously, we've got a friendship going here for a wee bit. I don't know if you saw the wee piece I did with Roberto.
Yeah.
It was that went back and forwards quite a few times because I had recorded something already, and he actually said, "No, Mick, you can't. You've got to extend the ending a wee bit." He sent it back to me, complaining about my performance, and coached me to elaborate on the whole end section, which I'm really grateful for, because I love when somebody's completely honest with you and they say, "No, actually, that's not good enough. You're going to have to do more than that." So thanks for that, Roberto.
No, thanks to you, Mick. I had a long story with Simple Minds through my life, and I had never had the chance to meet you before. Derek, Brian, and yourself never had the chance, because when I was, touring with the band for many years, you were not there anymore. But I have to say that Jim and Charlie were good friends, because I was very honest, and every time Jim would, send me the records before they mastered the album, so he would send me the recordings before they released the album. I was honest with him always, and I think he and Charlie appreciated the fact that I was a very honest. I'm just not like a fan only, but a very critical musician as well. I have musical education, so. Yeah, man. I mean, and I'm always looking forward to push you guys to do better work and to probably see things that you don't see as musicians, because you are so submerged into, what you're doing. And I love that, if you ask me and I said, "No, Mick, do this, do that, the Sound in 70 Cities, demo, you were so kind to send me that, we talked about, so kind of slow, because, Simple Minds were always a fast-paced band. Like, you were always so hype in your music. I love that. And anyway, you know, it's great that we have a chance to talk about your music. Yeah, very, very happy, fortunate.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
I'm a bit scared to speak now, Roberto, because you sound like a very much a scholar in the music department, and we're just mere lads.
No, I mean, Brian, I have to say, you know, I wanted to talk to you about each one of you, you know, besides, you know, my first album was Once Upon a Time, because I was, you know, Mexico. You have to realize that Mexico back in the 80s, well, it was not easy even to get Simple Minds albums. You know, it was very hard.
Distribution was bad.
You know, it was very difficult to get the albums in the stores. You know, it was European banned. I don't know how many copies of the albums were, you know, released or anything, but it was very difficult to get the albums. So Once Upon a Time was a breakthrough for, you know, I heard Simple Minds. First thing that I heard was Up on the Catwalk. And I was blown away. I mean, before that, I was a Genesis fan, you know, and I love Genesis. But Simple Minds just did a breakthrough in music. I don't know, larger than life, larger than you can imagine. I know you guys, sometimes you don't consider yourselves as great as we think you are, because you were a breakthrough in music. Like, you know, the way you compose music, Derek's bass was, in my opinion, Derek's bass is the best bass lines I ever heard in my life. Like, and then I realized he was a guitar player, and I was like, yeah, of course, because, you know, you can see that melodic bass, you know, all the way through.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I think Paul McCartney in the Beatles did something like very melodic bass lines. Yeah. But Derek just took that to a completely different level. Derek is probably, in my opinion, best bass player ever. Like, you can. I was listening to Celebrate last night.
I'm going to go to a wank here.
I think we should eject Derek at the fucking mix here.
I was listening to Celebrate last night, you know, a live version, which I love, you know, and these things that hit the sliding, you know, that oh man, those things like that blew my mind away, you know, like amazing. And after that, I listened to the prior albums. First one that I got was Sister Feelings Cold, and I was shocked because the lineup was different, you know, like you know, it was Mel was not there, but it was Brian, and then it was not John Giblin, but it was Derek, and it was hard for me to understand the story of the band, what happened and everything. But I was blown away by the fact that the band had so many different styles and so many different ways of approaching music, you know, like Wonderful in Korea and Wonderful in Young Life and Careful in Korea and stuff like that, Sound in 70 CDs. And some of this, even I think Wonderful in Young Life, I don't remember listening to Michael in that track. Like I think there's, I don't know, Mick, like I don't listen to you in that track, but the whole album, it was amazing. And Brian, it was, you know, Theme for Great Cities, for example, you can take a different approach on how you play drums in a song, you know, like there's many possibilities how you play a track. But I think Theme for Great Cities, it's a perfect track. It's and the drum line, you know, the drums are amazing because that's what you had to do. It was perfect. So, man, I just have to say thank you for all these years of incredible music. I've never had a chance to meet you, but believe me, guys, you are in my heart every day. Every day I listen to Simple Minds music. Every day I say, damn, these guys are not playing anymore. How come these guys are not playing anymore? How come the biggest show on earth just, you know, vanished in a way? And you know, yeah, Verona probably, Street Fighting Years probably was the pinnacle of that, whatever. I love Street Fighting Years. It was hard for me to understand what happened to the band because it was like a rock band turning into a folk band, and it was a different kind of sound. It was hard for me to understand what happened. But sparkle and everything you've done. You know, it was, you know, and I had a relationship with Jim for 10 years, very, very close. You know, a lot of conversations, chatting every day. And I spoke to him about you guys, you know, my thoughts on Mick, my thoughts on Derek, my thoughts on Brian. And it was interesting for me as well to see, you know, their opinions about, you know, Mick and Derek and everything. I did a video. I did a Someone Somewhere Summertime video, which ended up being a total mess. Unfortunately, it was very painful. And but anyway, that happened. But
did they come down and play in Mexico City, Roberto? Did you meet them in Mexico City?
Unfortunately, Mick, after the Someone Somewhere in Summertime video, there was some stuff that hurt me, you know, and my relationship with Jim ended up there. You know, he said some things that, anyway, it was, you know, he hurt me. And I know I haven't spoke to Jim since then. They played here. If, you know, if he wants to see me, maybe, you know, he will contact me and we can have a chat and talk about and put everything you know, everything in the past and have a fresh start. And because, you know, besides, you know, having issues or whatever, because, you know, it's also funny because how can you have an issue with your favorite rock band? You know, it's like, it's crazy, but it happened. But anyway, maybe we can put that behind and maybe I can see them. Charlie's a fantastic guy. I really like Charlie as a person, as a, you know, he was even pouring my drinks on the parties and everything. Like, you know, we were really close. And but anyway, we had so many conversations about the band and encouraging also, you know, I told them, you know, to do their music on 5.1 digital audio. And, you know, Jim and Charlie would say to me, but why would you, you know, you need a certain equipment to listen to those kind of recordings, you know, the Dolby Digital. And I would say to him, no, just preserve your music. Like, how come you guys, you know, those analog tapes are gonna, you know, they're gonna disintegrate eventually. So you have to convert them into digital, you know, 96 kilohertz, 24 beats, just preserve your music. And they were like so hesitant, you know, they were hesitating about preserving their music. And I'm like, why? How come you guys don't? It's not about selling albums, it's about preserving your music. And, you know, I was really pushing for that to happen. And eventually it did happen. You know, it was good.
Yeah. Good. That sounds good.
Yeah. And anyway, but I wanted to ask you a question because this question has all arisen myself.
Okay.
Simple Minds has a very unique way of recording music. And what I'm trying to say, it's the quality of the recordings. Your albums sound really, really well. Everything, like even the bootlegs, because I have like 600 bootlegs and they even sound good. Well, well, I have the biggest Simple Minds collection. If you ever ever need a piece of music, I have it. Okay, so any concert, any gig, any country, everything. You know,
have you got Garden of Hate, Roberto?
Garden of Hate. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, Garden of Hate. Yeah, I think that was the first one of the really, really early tracks, right?
Yeah. Some wonderful backing vocals in it.
Yeah, very, very nice. But so the question here is, how you guys, who supervises this? Who's in charge of taking the decisions of? Because it's not one album. You know, some bands, they have one album with great sound, and then the rest is very crappy. How Simple Minds got that efficiency in doing these great recordings all over their entire history? How?
We have a carer. We have a carer, you know, so it's generally the producer.
I was going to say that. I think that from my perspective anyway, John Leckie and Steve Hillage obviously did a good job on the albums that I was involved in. After that, I haven't got a clue because it was Jimmy Iovine and people like that and Bob Clearmountain and obviously doing the rest. But as far as bootlegs are concerned, God knows. There was no answer to that, Roberto.
That's the thing. I think that, Roberto, you're suggesting that there's a consistency regardless of whether it's a bootleg or whether it's a produced record or whether it's a radio session. I think what it sounds like you're referring to the sound that comes out the band rather than the sound that comes off the actual quality of the record. Is that what you mean?
I would say both, Mick. Like the band sounds amazing live, but also the recordings are amazing, and they have a consistency. Even, Sparkle, Steve Lillywhite did a great job, of course, in the Once Upon a Time album or whatever. But who set up the microphones? Who's in charge of saying, this album has to sound this way? Because it's amazing. Your sound is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, with Steve Lillywhite, obviously, when you said Up in the Catwalk was the first record you heard, I mean, that instantly has a sound that is Steve Lillywhite. It's like a really built-in, in your face,
more live,
really loud. It was loud when we wrote it. It was loud when we recorded it, and it was loud when we played it back. And then it was really loud when we played it live. It was like the whole fucking thing's dead. I've still got tinnitus ringing in my ears right now because it's Steve Lillywhite. And I'll never forget in the studio when one of the playbacks for Waterfront, Charlie and I, we used to cup our ears at the front so they would get more bright. It wasn't bright enough. Sitting in the back of the sofa, right? Go, Steve, play it, turn it full up. And he turned it right up to the maximum it would go, pressed play, and ran for the door and left Charlie and I sitting there like that.
Wow.
So that was loud.
Talking about Waterfront, I just discovered like 3 years ago, when you're playing the keyboards after the intro, then you come up with these keyboards right before Jim starts to sing, and I never realized Mel Gaynor was doing some backing vocals there and they kind of mix with your keyboards. Those Mel Gaynor, is that Mel Gaynor singing?
All right, I don't know what you're talking about, Roberto.
I don't remember.
The bit before the vocal comes in.
I have the different tracks. I have the separate tracks from the album, and I swear.
I think you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Mel Gaynor singing he's singing, and that mixes up with Mick's keyboard.
Yeah.
Have you separated the stems, Roberto?
No, this was a kind of different look at the arrangement. I think you're talking about here when we had a kind of slow build up piano type thing and Mel doing a vocal thing. Yes. I vaguely remember something about that to try and a different arrangement of it.
I thought you separated the stems and then he found a vocal.
No, on the record. It's actually from a live show, wasn't it?
It must be a live show because you never did that in the recording, the record, the main
album. I will send it to you, Mick, just to you.
Yeah.
But I swear, because I know Mel's voice, and I swear it's Mel singing just a little section behind your keyboards on Waterfront on the studio album, and I was like, wow. Yeah,
I remember something about that, but I'd love to hear it again because I don't remember what he did, but that would be great. Send it to me, Roberto.
Yeah, I will send it to you. And Derek, I wanted to ask you, how's the transition between up to Nigel Dreamy your bass was very melodic. You were doing all this incredible bass line, but then you transitioned to Sparkle in the Rain, and it was a more pop rock oriented album. It was a different sound. How did you approach? Because it's like when I listen to Sparkle, it's like, where's Derek? Like, I know you're there, of course, but
a lot of people say that.
What happened? How do you approach that changed?
Well, that changed with it. That's probably through working with Steve. Probably Steve did that. The people complain about they're not hearing the bass. I can hear it because I know what I'm playing, but maybe that's in myself when I listen to it. I know what I did, so I hear it anyway. But
give me a track reference, Roberto. Tell me a track. What tracks are we talking about here?
For example, Derek was used to play Big Sleep with this bass, and he was used to play Wonderful in Korea, and he was used to play Glittering Prize, all this melodic bass, and then he has to switch. He has to switch to Ista, doom, doom, doom.
It's a style of
Easter,
he did Waterfront, one line, so he had to change.
Waterfront's not just one line, Roberto. Waterfront's four bass lines. Four different bass lines.
Yeah, you change sometimes, but that's like the constant bass, and then you change. Yeah.
I think Roberto's talking about your style of bass playing, Dan, as opposed to the sound of the.
But Easter is. I was doing harmonics for the boom, 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 boom. I was just doing harmonics, playing right up the really high harmonics, but using it with it was just a technique that I'd learned how to.
What I'm trying to say is
harmonics in every single note, that kind of thing, and that's what I did. And then I did this more of bum 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 bum, when the A note, and I would just pedal that, So that was just a different style. That was in the fretless as well.
Yeah, what I was trying to say is more that you were more protagonist within the sound of the band before Spark in the Rain, and that protagonism, you have to move backward. You have to don't be that protagonist. And how do you approach that?
Yeah, it sounds as if Dan blended into the track as opposed to being lead.
It's just I was part of the full big.
Like more like the track may have been constructed more than it was coming straight off the bass and drum as a starting point.
Songwriting
process. That's where it came from. It came for the down, 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 and that was all I had. And then,
but
it was the same with the kick inside of me. The kick inside of me as well. That was like me just doing it. It was always a punky kind of slapping thing, and Jim just sang over the top of it. It wasn't as constructed as the other songs. I think it was deconstructing what I was doing. I think that's what you're getting at. It wasn't as full or whatever. Melodic.
Plus, it wasn't like a hook. A lot of the stuff that we're talking with, like one bar hook, really. It was a one bar loop that would run it around a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I have to ask Mick a question or so about Speed You Love to Me.
About what?
Speed You Love to Me.
Speed You Love to Me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best tracks ever. And I have the demos you did. The demos you did prior to recording the song. It was very electronic. It was a very electronic sound. It sounded to me. I have to say here, this, guys, because I always tell Mick has this Vangelis sound that I always love. I think Mick is so incredibly talented that only Vangelis, the great maestro, had the sound that Mick has. It's an angelical sound, amazing sound Mick has, but also these electro beats that he creates are amazing. Why did you switch from such an electronic and powerful demo into a conventional piano on the actual studio recording? Why would you do that?
Well, we just had bought the Oberheim drum machine, and that also I linked that to the Oberheim because I had an OBXA, and I always remember the Police had also got this rig, but they'd got the whole rig, Andy Summers or somebody. I remember seeing a photograph and I thought, fuck, I want that. And they had like a matrix, they had the drum machine and the Oberheim, and they had them all linked up and they were all synchronized. Getting things synchronized back then was a big deal. You normally had to either have external synchronizing boxes that would do stuff like that. But this was the first time I'd actually two boxes that actually worked and locked together.
Wow.
Other than that, I would either be playing an arpeggiator off something and trying to hit the downbeat for the arpeggiator to stay in time, whatever. So that was really the first time I'd ever had the opportunity to run a whole arrangement of something that would be synchronized with a drum and a synthesizer. So all the other bits I played on top of that. So it was always going to be just a demo, Roberto. It was never going to make it. And I never even had any ambitions of it getting past that. Because as soon as you take a drum machine away and it was replaced with an actual drummer, then it's just psychologically, you've got to replace everything because you're now into record mode. Nowadays, a demo will morph into being the records. So you can hold on to much more of the demo today than you ever could. Back then, you were just a psychological, well, it's just a demo, so we've got to dump it all and re-record everything. And it's just where we were by the time we got to re-record it. And the thing with some Speed Your Love to me, it always kind of felt unfinished and still does. It still doesn't feel like it. I mean, loads of stuff almost doesn't feel finished, but that in particular always felt like we never actually finished it and never went anywhere. It kind of started off with this kind of flow and this kind of thing. It was moving and it just stayed there. There was no kind of stopping. There was no kind of rebreath. There was nowhere where you could sort of draw breath and kind of kick it in again. It was just zoom, zoom, and that was it. So as far as the sounds went, in fact, that was the only thing I think that we could use to create the dynamics was trying to use different sounds on it, which is it's a bit of a cop-out that when you don't have anywhere musical to go, and all you do is change the sound of something, but it's still playing the same part. And that's kind of what happened with that. And I remember the demo, and I had the demo. In fact, I'm sure it was me that put the demo out there. That had this really nice ascending thing, and it was really synthetic.
I love that part. Oh.
And it was like it was all gone by the time it made the record, and the record was too hard for that. Yeah. You know, that stuff was too weak and too thin to kind of it was the wrong direction for the way the song developed.
Blame it on the producer.
May have been a mistake, and I would think it may have been a mistake when you listen back to it. It's a good observation.
Yeah, the part you play, what is like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
That was missing on the final track, and I'm like, the demo was way better. You know, like what happened? What happened to Speed Your Love? I mean, it was so.
That's a typical thing. That's a typical thing that happens in records anyway. When you've got a demo, everybody refers back to the demo because the demo's got the spark that you've got for writing the song, and then you get to the song, record it. It does lose a wee bit of the magic.
It became a guitar riff more than it did a synth thing. When Charlie came in with when Charlie hit the guitar part on it, and Jim was really on top of that. He really pushing Charlie up front to play that as a guitar lick. Like that was, he was assuming this is what's holding this song together, is that guitar lick. The rest of it was just kind of padding. Just kind of background. It was like it was background when I think it was more than background, and I think the guitar riff, it was good. I'm not taking it away from Charlie's guitar riff. It was a great guitar riff, but it wasn't enough to carry the whole thing. And that's when I think if that's all you've got, that's there's nothing else there apart from that guitar riff. Then that was a mistake.
Well, I think, in my opinion, the mistake was that, you know, it's a great riff. Charlie's riff is great, but on the demo, it's only on little parts of the demo. It only goes on on a section of it, and you have pretty much underneath that, it's all the synths and everything. And then once you take away that, once you keep doing that guitar over and over and over, and I have to say this here, but. One of my things that I talked to Jim always was, why you keep pushing Mick's keyboards on the back on the recordings? Like, why on the demos I can listen to everything everybody's doing, and then on the final recording, Charlie is always in front? Why? Yeah. Why he's always taking like the lead sound? And in my opinion, a band, in order to stay in a band, you have to consider all the band members together. Everybody's equal. Everybody deserves not only the shares about the money, not only on the credits. One of the things that I really don't like when I listen to Simple Mind gigs, I have them all, is like there's never an acknowledgement of one time maybe on bass, Derek Forbes, on keyboard, Michael. But
Never heard that.
but rarely, it's like in my head, it's like, how can you not acknowledge that the greatness that you have, it's because of all of them. It's all of them playing together. You know, if I were
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
That's what made the band. It was 5 guys, and they were all equal sound-wise in your face, and you could hear everything perfectly. But as you say, they're taking Mick out of the bit, they're taking me out, bringing it down, and trying to force
on
Charlie.
guitar, Charlie Burchill. On
Yeah.
guitar, Charlie Burchill.
But you've got to remember, it's Charlie.
It's like, come on, man. It's like, where are
Yeah,
the
I
rest?
know. I got really tired of hearing that as well, Roberto. It was like, and it was even times where Charlie was it was like, shit, I better do something because Jim's announcing me again. You know, it was
Right.
almost like I'll just go and press a fucking pedal or wave up a whale sound.
Right.
Like,
Charlie
because
Burchill, the sandpit.
Yeah, I know. You know, if I were the singer and I'm playing with Michael MacNeil, Derek Forbes, Brian McGee, whatever, Mel Gaynor, whoever, John Gibling, who's a great bass player as well. You know, if I were the singer, I would stop in between songs and say to the crowd, hey guys, you know what? Have you heard what? I mean, these guys are playing behind me. These guys are fantastic. And because of these guys, I'm here as well. So please acknowledge this piano, this bass, these drums. Like, I would be always acknowledging the greatness of my group. And I don't.
Roberto, you just answered your question yourself there elaborately. The fact is that Jim didn't see any musician as being anything other than disposable, apart from Charlie.
I know that.
That's,
I know that.
That's there for everyone to see.
I know that in my heart. I know that, you know, when we had this issue on the video and he disposed the video, like he trashed it and dumped it, you know, it cost me a lot of money and it cost me a lot of effort. I had people working three weeks non-stop, non-sleep to finish the video for Universal Music. I think Derek has seen it as well, because I was good friends with Paul Kerr for a long time. And he just dumped it away. And I said to him, you know, what happened? And he said, you know, you have no idea how many stuff we have trashed because of one reason or another. And in that moment, I realized, you know, that I was disposable, and I understood the rest of you guys. Like, I have to say this on air, but I understood that everybody is disposable. And
welcome to the diaper club, because we're all disposable.
Well, I'm part of the family. I know you guys very well. I met, you know, I know how it works. Yeah, I know. Even, you know, when Mel was kicked out as well, I was really mad. You know, I know Mel as well, you know, his things, his stuff, the way he does things. But anyway, he was kicked out, and that was it for me. You know, Simple Minds. And I text Jim and I said, you know, this band doesn't sound anymore as it used to, and I'm done with it. But yeah, it was painful for me to see that everybody was disposable at one point. You know, it was hard. Yeah.
At one point in time, he was the greatest drummer in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And he was the greatest drummer in the world. Exactly.
Still a great drummer.
No, but he's not now.
No, but Brian McGee was the best drummer Simple Minds ever had
in the world.
In his world.
What's your favorite, Brian? What's your favorite track you ever played? Which one is the one that you say I got it right?
Garden of Hate.
Theme for Great Cities.
I think so too. I think so too.
And you talk about that earlier on, Roberto. The Theme for Great Cities and a lot of the tracks were written and recorded without any knowledge of how good they were. I used to hate Love Song. I used to hate Love Song as a track because I thought there wasn't much in it. But when I look back on it now, I think that's fucking amazing because there's so much cool groove in it and just get great excitement and a great feel to it. But Theme for Great Cities was a complete groove and funky, but it wasn't deliberate. It was just I was always trying to enhance or play along with Derek, because Derek would come up with possibly the bass idea first, and then I would just simplify what he would be doing as a drummer, because I didn't need to over elaborate because he was already over elaborating on the bass, so the drums had to be simplified.
Did Steve put a echo on it at some point? There was a delay on Themes for Great Cities drum track.
There's a delay on the snare.
Oh, is it all the way through it?
No,
No, it's just like he was experimenting with the mixes.
He ran it live. It was an SSL disc, wasn't it? Automated.
No, it was. Don't know what was. I think he would have just played it, run it in
He
there.
probably ran it live. So he did put delays.
But that's a good question. What is yours, Dan? If you were to pick a track that you think, what's the one that you think you nailed it?
Well, the one that I love. Well, there's so many, but one in particular, the American, I think is great. American was just strange. It was a strange
because of the bass line.
Aye, strange thing. Even the whole bit, the guitar bit, no, that was great. I thought as well.
And the bass at the very end of the track on the live versions, Derek, that you do like a on the American, it's fantastic. That's not on the album version. You just do that on the live versions, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I know you guys very well. Back to Theme for Great Cities. Do you know that's the track most covered by DJs in the world?
Yeah.
I'll
tell you, well, you've got that, Roberto, you've got that. That one's very popular as well. But the American is a big, big goth hit. All the goth kids love it, and I played it in Glasgow just recently. And when I did the American, I couldn't believe that everybody just, oh, and they're all singing along, no, danced about, they went mad. And I'm going, what's happened? Did somebody come in? I thought somebody'd come into the building and they were cheering for him or her. But it was the American, they all love it. They absolutely adore the song. So that's right now. So
it was very unfortunate as well that knowing the band, how you guys where like none of the instrumental versions were played live within the track, within the gigs, like always Theme for Great Cities, or you never played Someone Up There Likes You. Those beautiful instrumental tracks were completely taken away, Sound in 70 Cities, and all of those tracks were taken away in the live gigs. And I'm like, why? I mean, how come you don't put those? Like obviously it's the singer not allowing this or whatever, but what happened?
They were great to create moods through the whole set. They really they were huge in the context of a concert, those instrumentals. Later on, what replaced that mood element, obviously you can't just drive a gig full on all the time, even just to stop. This is one thing I thought years later, when we used to have gaps between songs, because Jim didn't really have that much to say that to talk to an audience, but we couldn't go straight we couldn't go into but we couldn't go straight from one song into the other because there was no presets in the keyboards, and you'd have to set the next song up and get the settings and there was no presets, so that left a moment in time that gave your ears a break more than anything else, and that was much more crucial than anything else. You think, it's going to break up the flow, we need to keep going, and Jim would be turning around, you ready, Mick? We need to fucking let go because I've got nothing to say. And you've got this kind of edgy, kind of uncomfortable scenario where you've got to rush into the next track, when in fact we're making a mistake by not creating the gap and let people get a breather, so that the previous songs kind of finished and here's a new experience.
Yes.
And then the only way that would work out now later on, when you've removed all the instrumentals and things that gave people a wee bit of a break, was to milk the ending of the last song. And obviously fucking La Na 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 and Alive and Kicking and all these kind of sing-along things where Jim would let the crowd go. That's what replaced those elements of instrumentals, which is a bit of a cheap copy, really, to think I'm just bleeding this song to last for 9 minutes. Well, I eventually got my fucking done my nut in. How long
we can tell.
we go with this bloody song. When you're doing the gig night after night, you know what's coming up. And you know that I'm like looking at my fucking watch, wondering when am I going to get off this stage? Because not only am I busting for a piss, because I started drinking too many beers too soon into the set. And I know we're not going to have time to go to the toilet because you're going to come off stage and you're only going to have a few minutes because, well, more and more and more, and you're going to have to run back on. So it would be like, I know the encore now is going to be fucking 40 minutes. You know what I mean? The encores were practically a whole gig worth. By the time at the end of my time in the band, it was like, the encore was fucking at least half an hour long.
Yeah.
That was just the intro.
It's because they're milking all these endings, Brian. You know, it's like, you know, he's just going to keep them in, and then everyone's going to sing along, and it's like, oh fuck's sake, come on, get moving.
What they do now is just get the drum solo up.
Oh well, I've been there. That's what the drum solos are. Okay, any solo is a nightmare. I hated the whole solo thing anyway. No, but one occasion I've shared this one before when I jumped off stage. And I couldn't get fucking back up. I forgot how high the thing was. And it was a whole scaffolding arrangement. And I was like, for fuck's sake, I'm not going to get back on there. And I just said, oh, fuck it. I'm away. Went away to the dress. And then I kind of dawned in the shit. I should have got back on stage because they're obviously doing the sets without the keyboards now. And then when they all came into the dressing room, I can see Jim's fucking raging. But they thought I was in a huff. They thought I was in a bad mood, and I wasn't. I just couldn't get back on the stage. Are you all right? You know, the Mel's, are you okay, Mick? What the fuck's going on, man? You know, is everything all right? And it was just, just fuck that.
There was no stairs.
Fuck it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry, I've drifted off in a tangent there, Roberto.
No. Great stories. Yeah.
We're going to have to sort of wind it down, otherwise we're going to have a huge edit to put all this together because we're already, it's nearly 10 o'clock.
I'm running out of power on my iPad.
Is there anything you want to finalise this up with, Roberto? Is there anything you want to ask her to kind of to fold this up? It's been a total joy having you on here.
Thank you so much, my friend. We talked about this before, and when you did I Travel, that song, it was transformed into Ghost Dancing.
Yes.
Somehow it was transformed into Ghost Dancing. And you once mentioned to me that was sort of an unknown ripoff. And in my opinion, it was, most artists, they don't want to do that. They don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, no. But let's say, okay, George Lucas was still doing Star Wars after he did Star Wars. And even Ridley Scott, the director, is doing Gladiator 2, and he's been doing Gladiator for a long time. You know, like some artists, they just go back into their own work and redo the work, which in my opinion is great. It's not like a ripoff, because I think Ghost Dancing, it was a better version of I Travel. But my question was, who came up with this idea? Because I remember the first time it was Barrowlands 85 that I heard this transition between the two of them. And you were playing it. Yeah, January 5th, actually, like 30 years ago.
Yeah, we did it at Barwell Court. Jim says just don't put in the full riff. Don't put in the full riff of I Travel. Do it the bass. Just he never said root notes because he doesn't know a root note from a fucking carrot. So he got us to make it really simple, and that's why it's just down, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's I think it's the same song. You just make the guitar more prevalent.
Just really that guitar riff. Hearing that on its own, I think that's all Jim wanted to hear. And then run away with that live. It was a good vibey thing to do live. You know, I could see him why he would kind of latch onto that.
We rehearsed it, Mick. We rehearsed it in Barwell Court. That's where we did it.
Aye.
The song was there anyway. It's just we did it.
We're looking at all the material in a kind of trying to vary a lot of the stuff at the time rather than just do the next tour, and let's how we can change the arrangement or something like that.
Aye.
So it's really just in the same road as that, but then it's really focused on the guitar riff, I thought, and Jim rewriting the kind of lyrics to it.
I think
To me, I still felt it was a bit of a copy, really, that they just didn't come out and write a new song and kind of just do something else. And I kind of felt the same way, even though with Mandela Day, because that's another track that's just an old track. I can't remember.
That was Seeing Out the Angel, right? That was Seeing Out the Angel.
Yeah, Seeing Out the Angel. That's right. That's right. Yeah, and that was another one, like, and I remember even Jim saying, like, that these are really lovely chords and Seeing Out the Angel. Can we start with that? And that's exactly what, and that's all we did. There's not even a kind of change to the actual chord structure anywhere. It just runs the whole song with that.
Yeah, I remember
just
that.
thought lyrically it was pants. I didn't like it at all.
What, Mandela Day?
I just thought it was pants.
I thought it was one of the best songs he's ever written.
I know, I heard you say that before, but I never.
Bit of a contrast in decisions there.
I thought it was one of the only songs he'd ever written at that time. When I used to hear the Jimmy Iovine talking about songwriting as in a song about a story.
Aye.
I can't tell you anything about any song. I don't know what fuck love songs about, or I Travel, or any of them. Well, I kind of roughly know what I Travel is, but it's no like a song where it's a whole story to it. Whereas Mandela Day had the nearest thing I'd ever heard Jim write to being tagged in as an actual song.
It is.
The rest of it are all just really riffs.
Jimmy Iovine was we wanted to do propaganda, didn't he, Brian?
Who's that? Jimmy Iovine?
Jimmy, aye. He's going, yeah, I like it. He's getting all that shit on the phone. We're talking to him. No, remember talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Derek, tell me a little bit about 777.
777?
Yeah, that was I have some albums there from a band called 777. Even Mick played there.
Oh, is that Steve Hillige's one? Is that?
Yeah.
Hillige's?
Yeah. System 7.
System 7. Mick, did you know what with Mick?
I did, aye.
Aye.
I was on the
first there, right, Mick? You play there.
It was on the first System 7 album that I worked with Steve. There was a couple of tracks. I can't even remember what. I remember it was, you know why it was called System 7?
Yes.
Yeah. Right, good.
Why? What was it?
It's because Apple had just released the version 7 of System 7.
Really?
On Apple. That was the latest version of the Apple. He was kind of he was putting together a band of people that had never really met each other. They were kind of DJs and people like that. And I remember the first time I met the other 6 members was at a photo shoot for Q magazine or one of the things. The album was out and nobody had met each other, and I'm meeting the guys sing the vocal, and it was like one of these kind of projects. Steve just went around everybody's houses or studios. He came up to my studio and kind of put it together like that. But I remember also, this was really cool, Colin Barr in Glasgow. He's a DJ guy. He owns nightclubs and stuff. I love Colin Barr. He's been a guy that's going about Glasgow forever, and he's just really on it. And when I turned up at the club, I don't know if he was managing Bennett's or something at the time. He's like, "Fuck, System 7. Now you can get in anywhere, Mick. It's like, fuck that Simple Mind shit. System 7's where it's at." So it was like, I'm trendy because I'm with Steve. It's trendy with Steve Hillage. Can you imagine it?
I seen him a few weeks ago, Mick.
Did you?
Aye, Big Colin. I've seen him.
Big Colin, right?
The beer keller. No, the beer keller. It's across to the Ivy and Buchanan Street.
Gordon Street.
Aye. Yeah, no, I've seen him a few times. I saw him up at the Moore Festival. He was DJing at it as well. It's a great festival up there.
Aye.
And Kelly as well.
Stevie Dick, Stevie Dick was seen at the Ivy Wednesday night.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a tangent, man.
Anyway, we better wind it down here because it's by 10 o'clock
Yeah,
My
no.
granny's sleeping.
Right.
Can't be loud. Thanks.
Hey, Brian,
Anyways,
I'm going to send you a message because I want to get one of your drumsticks. I'm a drummer myself, and I want
Oh,
to.
yeah, cool.
I want to get one of your drumsticks, please. So I'm going to message you. So
No problem, sir.
I need those. I'm not ask Mick for his keyboards or Derek for his bass.
I've not got any keyboards. I've got an old bashed up thing here. I mean, it looks like a keyboard.
You have the beautiful Nord lead, which is my favorite keyboard. Those keyboards are so soft. They're beautiful.
It is, yeah. That's the only one I kept. I love it.
I
He's
love
got
it.
Vangelis set up in the background.
I know. And talk about Vangelis. There's a really good documentary about Vangelis floating about there. I don't know how old it is. He's really, really, what a guy. Really, really
Vinyl
amazing.
album.
Well, I just have to
I
say
love
that
Spiral.
I consider him as the best, musician, composer. But
That's the unknown man. That track's called. I remember Joe Green and Ian McCall went to Greece on a holiday and were blooter drunk, right? And Ian came back and he's telling me this story. It was too hot and they were drinking the ouzo and they're lying on the beach and they fell asleep and they got totally fried and burnt. And then when he woke up, it was packed with people because all the nightclubbers had came out and was Vangelis was playing on the system and he was like, oh man,
wow.
skin up my joint. And it was just that he'd woke up in heaven with Vangelis playing. I remember thinking, I'm into that guy. Yeah.
I used to go to my bed with that track.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
People, Places and Things has that vibe, that track. People, Places and Things has that vibe. And Joyride. Joyride, I think, is one of your best pieces, Michael. Joyride is beautiful. It's a shame it's just 1 minute long, but I think it's perfect. We also just 1 minute of that love. It's just about love. It's a beautiful track.
Yeah. Oh, thanks very much. But see, the other thing about Vangelis, when he really introduced Irene Papas, that other Greek singer, do you know who she is?
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm
right.
sure
Yeah.
she's the same one that sings the Gladiator stuff, or at least it's the exact same sort of vocal as Hans Zimmer adopted in Gladiator. And that's the first that I heard her singing many, many years ago. And Vangelis latched right onto that. That was an amazing kind of collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. Now that he died, their CDs just went up the roof. Those are like £500 each CD because they're not going to be published.
Yeah,
like they became really. And
it's good. A legend. Anyway, listen, fantastic see you guys. Nice to see you, Roberto. Thanks, Tony Patterson, and thanks, Julz. I see Nanette's kind of buggered off, and I don't blame her.
Quite right.
Thanks for everything, guys. Thanks for my life. Thanks for everything, for 40 years of being with me every single day. Thanks for, at least share a thought, a message, everything. So God bless you if you believe in that. If you don't, believe in yourselves. And thank you so much, Eternal.
Right. Thank you, Roberto.